Professor of Sanskrit, welcome you all on behalf of Badrika College of Commerce and Arts to the Leaders Speak series, a special initiative as a part of Platinum Jubilee celebrations of our esteemed educational institution. For 75 glorious years, Badrika Educational Institution has been a beacon of knowledge, shaping minds, nurturing leaders, and fostering excellence across various fields. About education, it is said in our scriptures, Sarvam Vidya Pratishtitam, Vidya Sarvam Pravartate, Vidyaya Lavate Sarvam, Vidya Sarvatra Navati, which means everything is based on knowledge, and through knowledge, everything is achieved. With knowledge, one attains all things because knowledge reaches everywhere. Hence, the Leaders Speak series serves as a platform to bring together visionaries, thought leaders, and change makers, offering profound insights and invaluable experiences with us. Today, we are privileged to have amongst us our guest speaker as Ambassador Syed Akbaruddin sir, whose contributions are of great significance to the society. His journey is a testament to perseverance, innovation, and the power of knowledge, values that resonate deeply with our institution's legacy. Without any further ado, I request our principal, Dr. P. Mohan Kumar sir, to kindly come over to the dais. May I request Ambassador Syed Akbaruddin sir to kindly come over to the dais and occupy the chair. I request our principal sir to welcome our guest to the sampling. Thank you, sir. Seeking the divine blessings of Almighty, we now proceed for the lighting of the lamp. For this occasion, may I request Director General Professor Akbaruddin sir to kindly join us for lighting of the lamp. May I request Honorary Secretary SUTPS Sri Sri Kishan Madhukaji and Chairman SUTPS Sri Lakshmi Nivasi to kindly come out to the dais. I request our Vice Principals Dr. M. Janakiram sir and Dr. P. Venkataya sir to kindly escort them onto the dais.
వచ్చేస్తారు వస్తున్నారు వస్తున్నారు
Light has got a great significance in our lives. We believe light dispels darkness and shows us the path. It also aligns with the motto of our college, Tamasoma Jyotirgamya, leading from darkness towards light. We now seek the divine blessings with the praise song by Ms. Shruti Pai, Assistant Professor of Commerce. Shuklam Bhadram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Thank you, ma'am. It was really divine. Proceeding further, I now request Ms. Rashmi Dharakar, Assistant Professor of Commerce, to introduce today's resource person to all of us.
Thank you, Prana. Good morning to everyone. It's really my proud privilege to introduce to you today's resource person, Ambassador Syed Akbaruddin, sir. Sir is the founding dean of Akbaruddin School of Public Policy. Sir has a distinguished diplomatic career spanning more than 3 decades. Entering the Indian Foreign Services in 1985. Sir has worked at the Permanent Mission of India to the United Nations as First Secretary 1995 to 1998. Sir was a member of the UN Apex Body, the Advisory Committee on Administrative and Budgetary Questions, ACAPQ, during 1997-98. Having served as a counselor at the Indian High Commission in Islamabad 1998 and 2000, Sir is well versed in key issues between India and Pakistan. Sir has also served as Consul General of India, Jeddah, in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia from 2000 to 2004. Sir is among the few Indian diplomats who has the distinction of also serving as an international civil servant in the United Nations entity. From 2006 to 2011, Sir worked at the International Atomic Energy Agency (IAEA) in Vietnam. Sir was the head of External Relations and Policy Coordinations Unit and later also served as the Special Assistant to the Director General of the IAEA. Sir was the official spokesperson of Indian Ministry of External Affairs from 2012 to 2015. Sir retired in April 2020 upon completion of his tenure as the permanent representative of India to the United Nations. Since retirement, Sir has written and spoken extensively on global public policy issues. Sir has a master's degree in international relations at Australian National University. Sir, we are honored with your presence today. I humbly request you to kindly share your wisdom with us. Thank you so much.
Okay.
morning, everybody. Can you see? I can't see what is being spoken about. So can you see the presentation? Yes. Right. So first of all, thank you very much to the members of the Butterfly Educational Society, the principal staff, and other academic members of the academic community at the Butterfly College, and all of you young students for having the patience to come and listen to me. I'm a big family. Many years ago, for many years, I used to go on this road and always marvel at this college, which was beyond the cricket field. So today, after almost 40 years, when I came back, I started looking for the cricket field. And then I realized I'm too old, there is no cricket field. In front of the college is another building and other institution. So I'm in many ways only a tired and a retired diplomat. And I don't know whether I can engage with all of you because it is like a typewriter trying to engage with AI tools. Typewriters are very, very manual. So please bear with me when I try and speak. So I thought rather than speak too much, I will show you some visuals because as they say, visuals speak more than words. So let me begin. Okay, so as you can see, diplomacy, all of us think in terms of individuals, but it's a team game. And in team games, what happens is leadership is important, but the teams are as important as individual leaders. And generally, all of us now increasingly think, if you think of diplomacy, what do you think? Can somebody give me, from the young students, tell me, if you think of Indian diplomacy, leave the Prime Minister out, but who do you think of? See, you and I think similarly. Dr. Jayashankar. If you think of world diplomacy, who do you think of? So you think of the UN Secretary General. If you think of Europe, you think of the head of the European Union. If you think of Russia, you think of the Russian Foreign Minister. Because diplomacy is not a game with clubs play. It's not a game which organizations play. It's a game with countries play. So you will immediately think of that. And if you are old like me, you will think of older people. This is Dr. Kissinger, who was considered supposed to be one of the best diplomats of the last century. I'm born in the last century, all of you are born this century. So you have limited knowledge of him, but he was considered both an academic and a diplomat. But today, if all of you think of diplomacy, you only think of heads of institutions. But that need not always be so, because all institutions are built on thoughts, on ideas. So I want to test all of you to check how you think of diplomacy beyond the leaders of institutions. Leaders of institutions read the paper every day, you know. So I will show you 2 or 3 pictures and I want you to tell me who that person is. Right? And I will tell you they are all thought leaders of diplomacy. Okay? I call them the pioneers of diplomacy. Let's start. Do you know who this lady is? I gave you a hint below. Anybody saying who this lady is? I don't hear any voice. Okay, I give you one more hint. He was also Vice Chancellor of the University in Mumbai. No? In my view, he is the foremost diplomatic thinker India has produced. Yet, you can see, none of you seem to know about her. Because you are thinking, diplomats means they come with ties, they come with courts, they are heading institutions. Diplomats need not be that. Tomorrow, some of you will be there, it will be different. So, tell me who this lady is. If you don't know, I'll give you one last hint. He was born July 3rd, 1897 in Bada. You know, Gujarat is now a very important state in India. He was also from Gujarat. Can you tell me who she is? She is related to Indian diplomacy. Come on, now you can think. Related to Indian diplomacy, lady who contributed globally to international issues relating to India. No? Alright, we come to this problem of no again. Let me play for you what others have said about her. Then make you believe, because you are not believing me, I give you 3 hints, you are not believing who she is. Okay, one last hint. He was a member of the Indian Constituent Assembly, drafting the Indian Constitution. You are not going to remember her because all Indians tend to forget our history. Her name is Hansa Mehta. Does it strike a bell? No. Okay, let's see what others say about her.
We stand today at the threshold of a great event, both in the life of the United Nations and in the life of mankind. The United Nations stands for Declaration of Human Rights, and in the life of mankind, the International Declaration.
Like you have forgotten the technology also is revision. Her name is Ansa Mehta. So what was she and what did she do that you need to remember? So this is 1948. After independence, India sent a woman diplomat. There were only two women in the United Nations discussing human rights. One was the President of United States, his wife, Eleanor Roosevelt, former president. She was there. The other was India's Hansa Mehta. So why is Hansa Mehta important? What she did was, the US and France, if you read their constitutions, they say all men are born free and equal. So if you read the French Revolution slogans, all men are born free and equal. If you start and read the American Constitution, it says the same thing. So this lady, Syed, no diplomatic experience, stood up and said, but why are we saying all men? What happens to other gender? Can you say men includes women? And there was a big debate in the United Nations whether how do we change the US Constitution reference, French Revolution reference, and Eleanor Roosevelt was chairing the session. But Mrs. Hansa Mehta, when she came, she said, no, Mrs. Roosevelt, you have to find a new word. Diplomacy is about words. Words have meaning. So they debated, and Hansa Mehta came out with the suggestion that all humans are born free and equal. That one word changed entire norms of the United Nations from being a male-centric organization to a more inclusive organization. And who put that in? Hansa Mehta. But here's the problem. Indians are very good at practicing suggestions, but we forgot making frameworks. So today, if you go internationally, who talks about women's rights? The West. They are much later converts to this, but they decided that this is a beautiful framework, let's run with it. So we got the thought right, but we didn't put the framework in. So in any form of work, if you get the thought right, it's 50%. If you don't get the framework right, you will be at only 50%. You are not going to make a big impact. And that's what happened to us. We've forgotten who Hansa Mehta is. We've forgotten who started this revolution in terms of inclusivity. We've forgotten that it was our agenda, not the Western agenda. The others took and ran with it, and today they seem to be the leaders in this thought process. So now you can see that when you do anything, don't only come up with a thought. Come with a process to ensure that it is in the framework. Let me give you another example. Who do you think this guy is? That I show you a woman and I'm showing you who does he look like? as an army man. Now, you say, what the hell does army have with diplomacy? So you say one educationist, now you are showing another army man. What does army have with international diplomacy? So let me tell you who he is. Have you heard the name of Captain Akbaruddin Syed? No, you all forgot. You don't know about him. He is the only Indian who have got the Paramveer Chakra for fighting outside India, not on our borders. Not on the borders with Pakistan, China, who else. Captain Syed was an Indian who was deputed to the United Nations in Congo in 1962. Today, more than 50 years ago, Congo still is in the news. If you put on the news today, you will find that there are still problems in Congo. But he was a pioneer at that time. So what did he do? At that time, the thinking was that you should only defend your troops. You don't need to defend civilians. This is 1962. But Captain Syed decided that what use is an army when people are attacking unarmed civilians? Why should we not push this forward? So what he did was, he did many acts of bravery in which he lost his life, but he came up with the concept of responsibility of protection of civilians. He showed it by his actions, but again, there was no follow-up by all of us diplomats. So what happened? He was honored for his bravery, and after Bosnia, which is almost 30 years later, global people said no, protection of civilians is an important part of the role of peacekeepers. So they enshrined it in the UN resolution. So every resolution now where peacekeepers are required has protection of civilians. Again, who did this? The West. Because Bosnia was in Europe, they all focused on it, and what? And Captain Syed left blank. All of them forgotten. All of us forgot. So you can see that if you don't remember pioneers, we will be confined to thinking this is a new concept. This never happened before. This is the West is telling us something very good. We must follow. Yet, only 30 years before that, an Indian did it, but we did not. We gave him the Paramveer Chakra, he died, and we honored him, but we did not enshrine the concept into a framework. In the first instance, we had the framework of inclusivity, right? But we did not push it. In this one, we did work out the framework for a practical action. So both ways, one on lack of practice, other on lack of framework, we did not fulfill what should have been the general theme of pushing it out. Okay, I will not go here because the video is not working. I will ask you one last person. You have to answer this. Two people you don't know, okay, for you. Third person, you can't. 3 strikes, get out. Who is this person? Born in Mumbai, 30th October 1909. Looks like more like a diplomat, huh? Wearing ties, coats. Come on. He presided over something else. Come on. Now, I'm certain you heard his name, except you didn't hear some of the things he did. Okay? So you can't recognize anyone in this audience. Can you recognize him?
One more clue.
One more clue. This one is 2 clues. Okay, I give you one more clue. This is going to be tougher. He found solutions to start an international organization in 1957. This is a tougher clue. There's no photo of him. There's no name. Very close, not there. Very close. Very close. Come on. He gave some hint to you. So that is my batmate, and you don't know. Okay. Do you know him? Do you know Homi Baba? There was even a TV serial on him recently. How many saw the serial? No. I thought young people watch TV and watch that. I think it was on Sony TV or something. It's called Rocket Boys, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So, you know, he was the one who started India's nuclear energy program. He is the first chairman of India's atomic energy body, and he also, in that capacity, served as the president of the International Atomic Energy Agency, and it was being formed. So, what's his claim to fame, Mrs. Sir? He's a nuclear scientist. You were telling me sometimes educationists, sometimes army man. Now we are putting nuclear scientist. What did he do? So, what did Baba do? He is known as the father of India's nuclear establishment. But what else did he do? So, let me give you one thing. You know, when international organizations are set up, they decide a location. So, the discussion was where we should set up this International Atomic Energy Agency. And if you have seen that Rocket Boys, it says Baba had a love for opera. So, the discussion was where to have it. Most of these organizations were in Geneva, beautiful place, nice people, the Swiss were more open to giving benefits to the diplomats, so the diplomats used to go there. So it was a time. Baba had the casting vote. So he decided to go to the city of Opera, Vienna, rather than in Geneva. So Vienna is ever grateful to him that he set up the International Atomic Energy Agency in Vienna. But that's not his only claim to fame. Why is he important for India? Yes, he was in music, he was the president of this assembly which did it. So what happened was, if you look at international organizations, they divide all countries into groups, generally geographical groups. So Asia one group, Africa one group, East Europe one group, West Europe one group, Latin America one group. That's how it's divided. So Baba was, this is 1956-57. He realized if India is with Japan, China, it may not get the status it is. So he came up with a new concept, saying that it should be both geographical as well as the capability of countries. Because it's a nuclear organization, it must have some capabilities. So what did Baba do? There was no agreement, so he came up with a new concept saying that let us take both these and divide, and he came with a new concept called Middle East and South Asia. Now if you look at Middle East and South Asia, there are no other nuclear countries. India was the only country which had gone forward. Later on Pakistan came, but India is way ahead of Pakistan in nuclear matters. So that one stroke where everybody agreed, he made India a permanent representation of India in the International Atomic Energy Agency. 70 years till now, nobody could change it. Other countries have come, gone, etc. and all. But Homi Baba, he had the foresight to think, I must come up with a formula which is going to be almost immutable. So, what's all this am I telling you about a nuclear scientist, about educationist, and about the soldier? I think we need to sit back. It's not, I'm telling you stories, but those stories have some meaning. What's the first meaning for anything that I told you? Diplomatic leaders come in different sizes and shapes. Don't think diplomacy means only one thing. You must wear suits, you must be schooled in speaking a certain language, you must know a certain etiquette. All that is important. But There are other things. So, you as business leaders of the future need to think, yes, I can also do well in international institutions because international institutions are broad. I had the opportunity 45 years ago when I was wanting to join the foreign service, everybody laughed at me. So, what is foreign service? You go somewhere far away. Foreign means something happening far, far away. It's not what happens in India. But today, the moment something happens in Ukraine, your petrol prices go up, your fertilizer prices go up, you have certain sanctions, you have to fight with other countries to bring down the tariffs, etc. So, it is not that international organizations or diplomacy is only what happens outside. It is embedded in your domestic policies and in you. What happens? Hyderabad today is moving not because of anything else, but because it is a service provider to global organizations. We call them GCCs. What are GCCs? These are companies which are global in nature. They are using services from here and providing them there. So my general point is, don't think diplomacy, international relations is something very far off. It's very broad. All of you can look at it as an option because diplomats come in different shapes and sizes. What's my second takeaway for all of you? So, practical successes need frameworks. So, you may be very bright, you may do something very good, but unless you put it to a framework, it will become very difficult because you only get 50% of your marks. And nobody wants 50%, we want 100%. India, unfortunately, has been the 50% solution country. We do things very good in one aspect, don't follow it up, therefore we have a challenge. Others jump on it and follow. On the other hand, if you get only the framework, nobody takes you seriously because they say these are talkers, they are not doers. So you have to link what you talk with what you do. And finally, longevity requires a merging of these. One last thing. Success stories need to be told and recorded. Otherwise, you have forgotten who the pioneers are. You are amongst the best students in Hyderabad, the ones who are going to go globally, the ones who are going to do things for the whole world, and yet we've forgotten who our pioneers are. It's the same thing in our history. So if you look at it, can you tell me history of India written by Indians? Not the present day, not the modern. Before 1947, tell me history of India written by Indians. You will tell me, Sir Megasthenes wrote this, Sir Akbaruddin wrote that. Which is the rare history of India written by Indians? No, that's the problem. Because we are not recording our history. We are not making our success stories into long-term impact. If you go to Delhi, have any of you gone to Rajpath or now Victoria Path? Yes, again Sulakat, my friend, has gone there. So if you go there, there are trees along the Rajpath. So I was doing some research. I wanted to know when these trees were put on. So I went back looking at the annual gazette years. And lo and behold, in the gazette year of 1910-11, not only are there records of when those trees were planted, what distance they were planted, who planted them, how long is their longevity. More than 100 years ago, the British, they colonized our country, they were building a new capital, but they were recording everything. So young people, please don't think recording is for the archives. It's an important facet for us to grow as a nation that you must record things. And good stories need to be told. Otherwise, all of your generation will think, oh, everything good is coming from one part of the world or the other part of the world. you will not have confidence in yourself. So the important thing for all of you is to remember that success stories, read about Indian success stories. It's not that success has only been in one part of the world. I have told you a lot about thought makers. But you must also come to decision makers. Because this is all fine, these people did, they are from the last century, so you are telling me only about last century. Let us go to now political leaders in the 21st century, and generally foreign policy and diplomacy are overriding concern of the top political leaders, and we come to that. So for India in this century, who were the three prime ministers of India? If you don't tell me this, it's going to be difficult. Three prime ministers of India in 21st century. One you can say all right now, tell me two others. Right. Two. Who's the third? Right. You got it right. At least the 21st century you are getting it right. Vajpayee, Manmohan Singh, and Prime Minister Modi. So what's it? In 25 years, you had three prime ministers, which is good because diplomacy is a skill that you learn in the longer term. It's not the skill that you can acquire. Oh, I know accounting, I do one test, done. It's not that. It will take years to develop. So we have had the fortune that our prime ministers have stayed for longer periods, and therefore they have been able to function as political leaders in tough diplomatic environments. So you got it correct. Let me start with Prime Minister Vajpayee. Tell me one thing that you remember of him from an international perspective. One thing. So before that, I also wanted to tell you that diplomatic leadership, like all leadership, is about choices. There is no such thing that there is one path and I go. Anytime a leader comes, he has multiple choices to choose from. And the art of diplomacy, like the art of leadership, is making the correct choice. So I go back to my question. Tell me, have you heard of this term? If you don't know where you are going, any road will take you there because you don't know where you are going. How many have read Alice in Wonderland? Yes. See, I see only 20th century people doing this. Next time I come to your college, maybe after 20 years, I hope some of you more will do reading because it's important to read history. It's important to understand things when you plan for the future. So this is a quote from Alice in Wonderland. I just wanted to see how many of you know it. But let's look at Prime Minister Vajpayee. Tell me one choice he made from a global perspective. Only one choice. Yes? Pokhran. So can you young people tell me what is this Pokhran? Right. You're warming up. You're getting it right at least in the fourth effort. Right. So if you think of a international event associated with Prime Minister Vajpayee, he came with the thought that on India's future path to greatness, being nuclear is one important aspect. Irrespective of what others said, he just meant they did. He was convinced that this was, we can argue what this is about, that's a separate issue. But he had the will to push this thing through. Okay, good. Prime Minister Vajpayee took a political risk. It changed for those of us who saw it. We knew how India was treated before and how India was treated after. Because as diplomats, they immediately understood, oh, these guys mean real business, they are not to be taken easily, they cannot be just pushed aside, etc., etc. Okay, somebody said Manmohan Singh is the next Prime Minister. Tell me one important thing that Prime Minister Manmohan Singh did internationally. One.
1, 2, 3, nuclear deal.
All these 20th century people are telling, no, 21st century. All you young people are 20th century. Tell me one thing. It's nearer to you. We are old. We are from a bygone era. Sudhakar and I are from a bygone era. One thing. Can you stand up, young lady, whoever is advanced? See? Yes, tell me what it is. Yeah, this is it for India. I am saying international. That's, you are absolutely correct. Is the architect of India's modern liberalization. Correct. I am saying I am only dealing with the diplomatic aspects. One thing that he did. So he didn't do anything in 10 years. One thing. So what Prime Minister Vajpayee started by the nuclear test, there were a lot of other issues with nuclear. He came up with the issue that nuclear energy is not only for strategic purposes or making the bomb, but we need for our development. It's the first time India started saying that, look, you are looking only at the destructive parts. Look at the positive parts that we have. If we want to grow, if our industries have to expand, we need. So he fought against all the sanctions, and generally leaders don't risk their governments on foreign policy issues. Leaders risk on domestic issues, liberalization, budget, etc. He is the only Prime Minister who risked his government, saying that I think it is so important for India, I am willing to lose the government. He won it, yet we all forgotten that how much bigger risk it was for him. Because leadership is also about taking risks. And here is the Prime Minister who you know as an economist, risking his entire government. He would never have succeeded if he had lost that time. With the US, we had this nuclear deal called the 123 deal, which opened up nuclear power for all of us. You just read the budget yesterday, you know? All of you watched Nirmala Sitharaman's budget? Tell me what she said about nuclear. Sudhakar is mad. What did she tell about nuclear in the last budget? You read the budget, you are only thinking tax. Yes, tax is important. But she said something very important on nuclear issues. Because she said that we have a problem with the nuclear liability. That's why nobody is investing in India in nuclear power plants. And if India has to grow very fast, we need stable electricity, stable power. Stable power does not come through solar or wind, because solar only in the morning is generated, wind only when there is a wind. So if you need low carbon, stable power, nuclear is the best. And India has invested, I don't know, millions and billions of investments in setting up a nuclear establishment. The people in Bhabha Atomic Research Center, there are 10,000 people working there. When you invest so much, you must have returns. Aren't you all the business people who will say, what is the return on my investment? So what is return on India's investment? Can you tell me? How much is nuclear power percentage of our nuclear, of our energy? Yes, what percentage? What percentage is nuclear in India's energy? Yes, the challenge is absolutely right. 3%. Do you think you will agree to a company after 50 years of investment 3% returns? No. You will say, what the hell is this? I am going to design the company for it. It is time for the nuclear people to deliver. So, please read the budget. I hope your professors will ask you tomorrow what did she say in the budget on nuclear. She has said two things about small modular reactors. That means nuclear power generally is for 1000 megawatts. But 1000 megawatts is huge. You need grid connectivity, you need other things. So she said, let's have small modular reactors. So, Padura College wants electricity. Sets up a small modular reactor behind. If you have a science department, good. Otherwise, challenging for students of economics because 3% will not. So, just the thought. Please link these things. It's important in your life not to read only textbooks, but to link what is happening, what happened, and what will happen in the future. Because that's the only way you will understand and contribute to society. So coming back, Manmohan Singh risked his entire garment for this nuclear deal. And that's his one contribution other than liberalization. He did many things within India. Internationally, one thing he did was this. Okay, let's start with another leader. So, tell me what is unique about this leader compared to Manmohan Singh and Atal Bihari Vajpayee. One thing unique about international relations. I know only about international relations. I don't know anything about anything else. So tell me one thing. Yeah, he believes that. But unique, I want, supposing in 2014, when he came to power, what was unique compared to Vajpayee or to Manmohan Singh?
Leadership, confidence, leadership.
All these are correct. Again, I said international relations. You have to link it with international relations. One thing that all of you should know is 21st century creation, not for the era of all of us oldies. So what did he? What is one thing unique? Come on. Can I hear some answers?
Vishwaguru.
No, this is it. So he never had any knowledge of diplomacy. Manmohan Singh was for many years the Reserve Bank of India governor. He worked with the United Nations organization. He was finance minister. So he was dealing with the world before he became Prime Minister. Prime Minister Vajpayee, I remember as a young diplomat, every year he comes to the UN. He is only interested in nuclear issues. I used to handle nuclear issues then, and so they used to put me here because he was an MP at that time, was not. And his only one goal was nuclear command. And he would always speak only on nuclear issues. If you look at the records, 1995, 96, 97, he was in opposition. Every year, he will come, speak on nuclear issues, and he says, well, ye to karna hai. But Prime Minister Modi, he didn't know diplomacy. He was the chief minister of Gujarat. Before that, he was working in the BJP party. So, for him, the journey of diplomacy was totally new. And that is what usually happens to political leaders. The journey of diplomacy for political leaders is new. Look at Trump. When he came in 2016, he didn't know. He's a businessman. Even if you look at that before that, Obama, he was an academic lawyer. He didn't know how to engage